Picture yourself with a powerful sense of purpose, as though from the moment you were born, you were destined to achieve something remarkable. Take a moment to reconsider your ambitions. These days, ambition is almost treated like a flaw, but in truth, it's the engine behind every extraordinary and inspiring achievement in the world. Stop feeling the constant pressure to remain overly modest or self-effacing. If there's a personal project you've been dreaming of, start seriously planning to bring it to life soon. Repeat the reflections I've shared with you every single day. We must recognize a fundamental truth about human nature. At our core, we are social beings. We are deeply influenced by the emotions and energies of others, most of the time without even realizing it, through unconscious and nonverbal signals. Picture a typical social situation. You meet someone new, and they seem nervous, defensive, almost insecure. You sense their unease immediately. They study your expressions, searching for any hint of disapproval. In their presence, you automatically feel guarded, which in turn reinforces their nervousness. Soon, both of you feel tense, and neither really knows why. Now imagine the reverse. Someone approaches you smiling, radiating confidence and openness. They seem genuinely interested, as if they already like you without even knowing you. Instinctively, you warm up to them. One posture creates tension and resistance, while the other invites openness and trust. Scientific research has repeatedly confirmed this dynamic. For example, studies have shown that when teachers simply believe their students are bright and destined for success, without saying anything aloud, those students unconsciously sense it and end up performing better than others. Similar findings reveal that if you silently hold positive thoughts about someone, believing they're capable or interesting, they can pick up on it, and it improves their behavior and mood. If you're in any leadership role, this is vital to grasp. It gives you the ability to inspire and guide others, to lower their resistance, and to encourage them to follow your lead, often without a single word. Let's examine several common attitudes and how each one shapes the reactions of others. The first is the hostile mindset. People with this outlook assume others will disappoint or betray them. They like to present themselves as tough, controlling, and authoritative, but beneath that surface lies a deep fear of their team. They believe employees are lazy, constantly make mistakes, and can't be trusted. As a result, they micromanage even the smallest tasks. The entire workplace absorbs this attitude, turning into an environment filled with conflict, suspicion, and resentment. Ironically, this climate produces the very errors and betrayals the leader feared in the first place. I personally witnessed this at American Apparel, where I served on the board. The CEO, Dov Charney, embodied this hostile mindset, and it ultimately led to his downfall. The opposite of hostility is the empathetic mindset, which you should strive to adopt. Someone with this approach assumes the best in people, that they are intelligent, capable, and loyal, though these qualities may need nurturing to fully emerge. I once advised an NBA coach who was taking over a new team. His last team had tuned him out completely. I told him he had been far too strict and controlling, trying to dictate every move. I encouraged him instead to relax his grip, think positively about each player, and treat them as individuals. Mistakes were to be forgiven, but lessons should continue. He could remain firm, but only from a place of empathy. The results were remarkable. The team became tighter, more willing to learn, and more responsive to his guidance. Players began taking initiative, and when problems arose, they corrected themselves without the coach having to step in. That season, the team exceeded expectations and enjoyed significant success. The next is the anxious mindset. People with this attitude like to present themselves as cautious, practical, and careful, but beneath the surface, they are consumed by fear. They crave routine and can't tolerate unpredictability. They cling to the same strategies, and under stress, they collapse. Terrified of failure, they often sabotage themselves in negotiations, losing more through hesitation than they would by taking risks. Their fear spreads throughout the company, creating a stifling, rigid culture that misses opportunities, a condition you often find in large corporations. The counterbalance to this is the bold, adventurous spirit, best represented by Elon Musk. Musk resembles the explorers of the 16th century, always daring to think on a massive scale, whether it's electric cars, rockets, or futuristic transportation systems. I once spoke with an expert who was certain Tesla would collapse. He argued that starting a car company from scratch was impossible, given the immense costs of materials, labor, and infrastructure. He predicted Tesla would fail after a few unprofitable years. But Musk's daring nature captured the imagination of the public, which in turn fueled Tesla with investment. The surge of stock purchases provided the resources he needed to build infrastructure and outlast the early years without profits. Tesla's stock became wildly overvalued, but that hardly mattered. Musk's fierce belief in himself inspired others to believe in him too and invest their money. This adventurous mindset gives you the ability to bend circumstances in your favor, just as Musk did. And people are naturally drawn to work alongside those with such boldness. Finally, we come to the insecure mindset. Leaders with this outlook often disguise themselves as domineering and aggressive, but underneath they have fragile egos filled with doubt. Leaders with insecure tendencies often mask themselves with aggression, but beneath the surface, their egos are fragile and weighed down by doubt. This can be seen in figures like Michael Eisner, the former CEO of Disney, or even President Donald Trump. Such individuals cannot handle criticism. They surround themselves with yes-men and flatterers who feed their ego. Everyone around them must carefully filter what they say, which prevents the leader from ever hearing the truth. Over time, the entire organization absorbs this insecurity. People become self-focused, cautious, and fearful. The opposite of insecurity is a confident self-image. A person with this mindset possesses a strong sense of self and a powerful belief in destiny. They carry themselves like a tree with deep roots, or like a king expecting to be treated as one. I believe 50 Cent is a perfect example. For context, 50 Cent, pictured on the left if you're unfamiliar, was once a street hustler in Southside Queens, dealing drugs like countless others. Most of his peers ended up either dead or in prison. So why was he different? From an early age, he carried within him a fierce belief that he was destined for greatness. As young as 9 years old, he envisioned himself as someone who would rise far beyond his circumstances. That unwavering sense of purpose became a self-fulfilling reality. Anyone who spends time around him, as I did for 6 months, can feel his deep self-belief. It radiates charisma, and that confidence spreads naturally to others. Now let's turn to the entitled attitude. People with this mindset like to present themselves as regal, almost aristocratic, but their grand exterior hides a deep fear of others. They demand respect and obedience without ever earning it. They push the hard work onto others, and when mistakes arise, they quickly look for scapegoats to blame. Working under such leaders breeds resentment. In today's world, where authority is often mistrusted, no one wants to serve kings or queens. These leaders often inspire hatred, and when even minor setbacks occur, betrayal quickly follows. The reverse of entitlement is self-reliance. This is the leader who earns respect by working harder than anyone else, holding themselves to the highest standards. Steve Jobs embodied this in his second tenure at Apple. Although already wildly successful, no one outworked him. He demanded perfection not only from his team but from himself. If mistakes were made in product design, he shouldered the blame personally. This relentless accountability inspired those around him. Employees strove to match his high standards, pushing themselves harder because they respected the example he set. His work ethic created a culture of excellence that lifted everyone. I realize I've presented a great deal of information, so let's now focus on how to apply these insights in your daily life. The first step is to evaluate your own attitude. This requires distance from yourself. Pay attention to how you interact with others. Do you rush to form negative judgments? Do you forgive flaws, or do you magnify them? Notice how people react to you. Do they seem tense and guarded, or relaxed and open? Consider how much genuine connection you build. Do people only act when you chase them, or do they willingly come to you with initiative? Also, observe how you handle setbacks. When mistakes occur, do you learn from them, or quickly shift blame onto others? When faced with criticism, do you shut down or do you adapt? Do you recycle old strategies from the past, or are you receptive to new approaches? Remember, we often cannot directly see our own attitude. It reveals itself in our behaviors, patterns, and in how others respond to us. At the same time, we must be careful when dealing with the attitudes of others. Negative and unhappy people will inevitably drag us into their miseries, drama, and insecurity. On the other hand, those with expansive, positive energy can uplift us with their joy and confidence. Choose carefully whom you surround yourself with. Now, let's discuss how to practice and expand your own attitude daily. Start with yourself. Tomorrow, I want you to try an experiment. Let go of every label, every limitation others have placed on you. Reimagine yourself entirely. See yourself as a being with limitless potential, filled with untapped energy and resilience. Picture yourself as someone destined for something extraordinary. Reevaluate your ambition. Though society sometimes paints ambition as selfish, in reality, it is the driving force behind all that is powerful and inspiring. Stop downplaying your abilities. Stop being excessively self-deferential. If you have a project you've been holding back on, make concrete steps to start it soon. Repeat these reflections daily. Next, rethink your relationship with time. Release the weight of the past. Write down all your old wounds, failures, and regrets. Then burn the paper, symbolically freeing yourself from emotional baggage you've carried for years. In the present, when facing challenges or important decisions, avoid falling back on outdated strategies. Instead, look at the problem from a fresh perspective. Ask yourself, what would Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, 50 Cent, or Leonardo da Vinci do in this situation? As for the future, become a visionary. Create a vivid picture of where you want to be in 5 years. Long-term vision is the only way to navigate the chaos of today's world. Revisit this vision each month, refine it, and make it stronger. Train yourself to be a student of the times, identifying trends before they emerge. Pay attention to young people, they often signal the direction the future is heading. When it comes to people, I urge you to shift your mindset as well. Your first instinct is usually to judge, but instead, commit to understanding. Tomorrow, choose someone in your life who has always rubbed you the wrong way. Treat them as though they're a character in a fascinating film. Try to uncover their backstory rather than projecting your own narrative onto them. Next time you interact with them, hold silent but genuinely positive thoughts. See how they respond. Does the dynamic change? With toxic people, don't get drawn into their chaos. Seek to understand the roots of their behavior so that you can shield yourself, staying calm rather than reactive. Finally, embrace adversity and failure. A true entrepreneur must fail often before succeeding. In chasing your vision, you'll likely make mistakes, especially if you begin before you feel ready. But each mistake strengthens you, teaching lessons you could never learn otherwise. And now we come to the ultimate barrier, death. At the root of all our fears is the fear of mortality. It limits us, keeps us cautious, but by confronting it directly and meditating on it daily, as I do, you will free yourself. This isn't morbid, it is energizing. Awareness of death makes every day more precious. It gives urgency to pursue your goals now, before time runs out. As the writer Chekhov demonstrated, embracing mortality brings a deeper zest for life, a greater hunger for adventure.